even the separate self, one can grow some understanding around and fondness for. And when you do that, then it's falling away. Because whatever we don't resist doesn't hook us. So if we resist something, we're hooked, oh, that's my ego. That's my, people call it ego, right? I don't call it ego. Maybe, I don't know. Am I the only person out there, teacher, that's not calling it ego? And I'm not making anyone wrong, because what you have to do is you have to break down ego. And if they break it down, it's very likely I would understand what they mean. It's just that the word ego is so confusing. And immediately what arises is it's something wrong with me. Am I right? So that's why I don't use the word ego, is because the biggest interpretation, even if someone breaks down, oh, it's the separate self sense, and, okay, that's nice. But what is your gut wrench reaction to it? Yeah. So if you have a gut wrench reaction to a word like that, drop it. Don't use anything that makes you wrong. Because the whole idea is to open to your wholeness, not to divide yourself up. With one part of you is in a good place and is all growing and evolving, but there's this other part that's still stuck and unevolved and bad. I'm just kind of creating a big, dichotomy here. Well, no, you want to soften that dividing line. I say erase it, right? Erase it. And just kind of have more space, loving acceptance or more spatial understanding, whatever way it's presenting itself. And you go, oh, insecurity arising. Oh, insecurity, it's here. Unworthiness, a little bit unworthiness. Oh, arising. Oh, joy. Yay. I'm not going to, separate myself from joy. No, thank you. Bliss. Some sadness, some fear, worry, some real peace, So you want it all to swim together, like it's all welcome in the big ocean, the ocean of you, all the different fishes of the sea. Yeah. Some are pretty, some are ugly, some are hostile, and some are friendly. But they're all necessary part of the ocean. We're the ones that labeled them. My kids both have this, or when they were younger at least, a romance with sharks. Why sharks? They're making friends with something inside of them that is, kind of like misunderstood in the world, right? Made bad and wrong. But then they got into it. Like, look at what sharks do. They clean up the mess. You know what I mean? They do all kinds of good things. So I'm just saying we do that to ourselves, right? In our vast ocean of our being, we've embraced certain qualities and other qualities we've made wrong. That's just human nature. So with awakening, one levels that playing field and go, no. There's you stop the like the grasping and the repulsion of things inside of you. They say that in awakening, it's one of the things that happens is that we drop identification. Identification goes both ways, a grasping and a repulsion, as both of them create a sense of self. So if you push away these unwanted qualities, that's actually a grasping in the end, because you're bringing them close and keeping them still alive and well. The only way something goes away in a way, meaning that it gets neutralized, neutral, is when we give it permission to be. I give this permission to be. I might not like it. And you know what? Maybe it does need to go away. Like, let's say one has still speaks unkind words at times. We've all gone through that passageway, probably, of wanting to clean up our language with people we love or just in general, right? Because it's just a habit or learned or whatever, or reaction, protection, coping strategy, or whatever, to speak unkind words. But then we get more refined and say, I actually want to look at that. The first one brings acceptance to oneself. Nothing changes until we do. Like, oh, I have a tendency to sometimes speak unkind words. What is that about? Then the curiosity comes in, What is that about? What's going on here? I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of being taken over by someone's strong energy. I'm afraid that I won't be able to maintain a boundary or get my point across, because I haven't been listened to properly in my life, or, you know what I mean? I'm afraid of something getting out of control. So I'm going to take control. Right? So this really deep understanding can take place when we open it up with permission. Like, what is going on here? Why? Without making it wrong. Like, its language will reveal itself to you, what it is that we're wishing wasn't there. This is the nuance of awakening. Who would have thought? Yeah. I want to awaken to feel better. Well, this is the way we feel better, but it's a journey. So why did I bring in ego? Just simply not to make a big fat deal of it, and not to make anybody wrong who uses the word. I really don't. But it's more like, if you have a relationship inside of yourself where you're using the word or doing a number on yourself through it, and it's the opposite of welcoming that's taking place, we create more division. That's my ego. Well, what is ego? What do you mean? What is that? What is that? Like, oh, that's something I don't want to be there, or it's arising out of the separate self. How do you know that? What is the separate self? Is it an entity? Is it separate from you, the separate self? Is it real? Like, does it exist? What you've given it life, the separate, as if there's a separate self. There's no separate self. There's just a feeling of separate selfness, right? And that is a pointer that there's division, that this remembering hasn't taken full place. It's a pointer. It's not meant to be believed in and created more a story about and identify with, right? We identify with it. So we breathe life into this thing that we believe in. We created something out of it. But it's ephemeral. It's so weak. And it always feels untrue. Well, it feels untrue because it is. That's a great pointer. It feels untrue. The separate self feels untrue. Why does it feel untrue? Because it's not true. There's something inside that believes that it is separate from existence. Something inside that it actually feels like it's separate, right? It's a feeling. It's not just a belief. I remember, because in my journey, one of the ways that I helped close that gap between what felt to be separate and this longing for wholeness. These are all words, right? But in an energetic feeling of like, oh, I don't feel that integration. And then when I would meditate deeply or have I was really into yoga for many years, a really good yoga session. And it would just be like, all the pieces seemed to come back together and I felt myself again. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it's like, like hit the mark, you know? You hit the mark again inside. I'm aligned. I'm in sync. And then slowly it would ebb away, right? And you'd start to feel the vibration of separate self again. And like with certain people, I was really lucky. I hope you are too. With certain people in my teens and early 20s, this is when all this was really starting to take place, of my awareness around it. Doesn't matter what age. I would be with them and we would be in sync. You know, it didn't mean the moment was perfect. We might be talking about like really difficult stuff, but we were there with one another and there was oneness, you know. And didn't feel like separation, felt like a landing with this person. Does anybody know that for themselves with somebody? Have you had that? Eventually, when you're really far along, like that person right there. It's across the board. You're always feeling that. You're never separate from it. And some of you know this, I know, but you know what? It's kind of fun, even if you know it. It's fun retracing the steps, going, oh yeah, this is why we did this. Oh, and a reminder for those who are in the midst of it, with loving compassion, we are here with you, with understanding and joy too, because you're going home. So yeah, so if you have that with, even if it's just with an animal, really truly, I'm not belittling it, or a tree, a special tree, it can happen that way too. Where you know, and see, that's real important period of time, because you know it, and then you know when you don't have it, or you're not in alignment in that way, and then you know it again within yourself. You come out of meditation or whatever, and then you know when it starts to fade and it feels like crap. Like you're coming off the best spiritual high, you know, it's going away. It's meant to. It's not a bad thing. It's not like, oh, this is so terrible, I'm on a yo-yo. No, it's meant to just inform you and teach you, what is it you want? And where do you want to put your attention? Because you get what you put your attention on in that way. And if you fall in love and want that all the time, you will get it, because it's you're getting. It's not a thing outside of you. So then you live as that more and more and more, you know what I mean? And you know, sometimes there is a period of time of withdrawing from the world. Like some people may wonder what's going on. And in a way, I wish I could reduce some things, you know, like have a better way of explaining to my parents what the hell was going on. Why I wanted to drop out of college and just study yoga full time. And not that you have to drop out of college for this, but it's kind of like, sometimes when we don't know any better and we don't have modeling and we're on our own, let's say a bit, we might think we have to give everything up for this. You know, like the traditions of yore, you know, like the yogis who go off, and sannyasins, or, you know, monks, you know, or we have that kind of archetypal memory in our system that we have to do that. But even though you don't really have to do that, you can do it while in the world. Your life will change, and it's meant to, because you can't continue being enamored with everything on the outside because there's attention that's needed here. It needs to be nourished and fed and loved, you know, landed in. And luckily, a lot of the more modern teachings, I think, that are not just transcendent teachings. I like transcendent teachings to help you remember who you are. But the integration process is really needed to live this that you are. And the integration process is that you learn to love yourself and all these, whatever's taking place. And then you have to stop polarizing inside. Does that make sense? The transcendent teachings, and I don't mean to disparage them. It's only when, and maybe even then it shouldn't be disparaged, but it's only when like someone thinks that's the only thing that's going on. And they, and then if they teach that, then the students or whatever, they believe that too. And then they don't know how to live this life. But then hopefully they go, okay, well, maybe something else is going on. I need more understanding. So it has its place. There's some teachers out there right now who are really good at pointing to the transcendent. The I, like, who am I? Who am I free of identification? What is this I, you know? Am I only this mixture of feeling and sensation and pain and worldly issues? Am I only that? Or is there something else that's going on, you know? Because we can't go straight into this is all there is, and I'm going to welcome everything. Well, if you don't have a taste, a sense of what it is that welcomes it, one is just back where you started, which is lost in the world. Does that make sense? It's not only, yeah, everything is that, and you welcome yourself as you are, and I'm gonna accept myself just as I am. Well, that's wonderful. But what do you want is, what is it that's accepting? The part that's accepting needs to be free of identification. Emptiness and fullness, dancing together, emptiness and fullness. The being, the presence, the absence of that lives in us, it does. And I say this, and for those who haven't heard it, it's known scientifically, right? That within the atom, it's empty. Everything's empty. They discovered that scientifically, everything's empty. And the yogis and all these beings from thousands of years, for however long, say, yeah, duh. We knew that. Just coincide, but it's cool. It's cool they discovered it, and scientifically you got to do that too. It's cool because it's like on the outside, on the inside, we both find out it's empty. So when something is known to be empty inherently, when that inside of you knows that it's free, then it's like really able to welcome everything, because it's just an aspect of that, in dancing particles of that. And we've labeled it these things, sadness or joy, or just dancing particles of that with a certain flavor enhancer. A little sprinkle. But, eventually you can love it all. You will see. I hope you can see for yourself. Contraction is more like a pointer, like what's going on here, not something to be repelled by. Like contraction, something, and there's this curiosity, what is that? Rose keeps coming in and out. That's okay, I'll let her in and out. So, like, what is that? That's the attitude. Like, like a baby, have you looked in the eyes of a baby? They're just like, they're just this blank kind of, but like, what is that? Right? They see like a mobile dancing, and they're just looking, going, what is that? You can feel it inside, they don't have the words yet, but like that kind of open empty mind, but curious. That's a really good attitude to have about yourself. Like, what is that? Instead of immediately going to, I know what this is, and I'm going to label it, and I'm going to put it in my little category of this is welcome, this is unwelcome. To make things less solid is the goal with awakening. Yeah. To soften and make things less solid inside of yourself. Don't believe that they are what you think they are. Soften and let it become more like little dancing particles, okay? With little sprinkle of a flavor that we know how to label, but the label doesn't define it. You can't define you either. So doing this kind of work, it actually makes you less defined, right? And you more permeable, more holy, with holes.